The views and opinions expressed on Deliberately Linked are entirely those of the host, who are completely responsible for all show content. These views and opinions are not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure in any way any kind of condition, or to promote any specific lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or personal practice. Nor is the information presented deemed to be accurate or verifiable.
What is up, Deliberately Linked viewers? Lace them up and lock it in, because on today's show, we're going to discuss a two-letter word that in your younger days would ruin your day.
Yeah. I heard it a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. So did I, buddy. So did I. So this is going to be an exciting show. I'm excited for this one.
I want to prepare people for this because there's so many levels this can be discussed. This can be discussed personally, parenting, entrepreneurs.
Right.
And it's so many avenues, but the reality with all these avenues, they come together and everything can be used similarly.
Okay.
You can apply the same rules to all things.
Yeah.
Because the effect is the same regardless of the arena in which you're doing it.
For sure.
But it's something that's honestly, I was surprised. I was honestly surprised how many people struggle with this. I myself, almost a year ago to this day, made the resolution that I would try to be better at this, and I'm not. I'm just horrible at it.
For sure.
And
this is something you do struggle with. When we thought of this topic, you were one of the first people that came to my mind.
Oh, I know. I'm really, really bad about it.
Good, bad, or indifferent, you know.
I'm really, really bad at this.
Yeah, we're going to discuss why.
And it's funny because I'm going to be like spitting a bunch of wisdom and knowledge today. Trust me, I already tell myself this stuff all the time. It's just so hard to get out of the habit.
For sure.
But before we get going, we're so happy, so excited.
Oh, man.
Visionary Meals is doing amazing things. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Yeah,
this
so
is
as
great.
you listen to this, hopefully that you're either preparing to be with family, you're traveling safely, but you're just honestly, here's my hope for everybody on this Thanksgiving. Enjoy the moment.
Please do.
Don't get wrapped up in where the sales are and where you need to go. No, enjoy the moment.
And with that being said, guys, Visionary Meals, okay, we just sent out an email last week about sharing with our customers on how, on a few steps you can take to truly enjoy the holiday time. And, I know it can be overwhelming for individuals. Your schedule gets busy. There's all kinds of things going on. You're stressed about, your diet, and you're like, okay, well, come first of the year, I'll start watching my diet. Let's start that stuff now, but don't let it stress you out. So this is the time of year, like Mark was saying, enjoy your time with family, okay? Enjoy those times with those loved ones, okay? Enjoy those meals of mama's home cooking or whoever it might be. But, portion control is always, one thing that's going to leave you a little less guilty or whatever that might be. But Visionary
have
Meals,
that piece of pie, just cut it in half and share it.
Exactly. Yes. We don't. It's meant to be enjoyed, but you don't need to go overboard. But hey, again, happy Thanksgiving. Stuff your faces. We do want, Mark and I hope you guys enjoy this day because it is special. It's truly a special day. And with that being said, guys, Visionary Meals is here to help you all get right back on track. After you're feeling that guilt.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you want to go through the cleanse and start eating healthy again. And really, if you just want to go from like, hey, I'm going to cheat on Thanksgiving, then I'm going to behave till Christmas, guys, that's a month.
That's perfect.
Yeah, you can re-energize. You can drop lbs if that's your goal, and you can just feel good and cleanse yourself by eating some meals from Visionary Meals.
Yeah, even over here at Visionary Meals, guys, we understand the macros need to be thrown out the door on Thanksgiving Day. We're actually running some specials. Well, we ran some specials now for Thanksgiving. And if, some of our customers, and maybe you're a customer of ours, if you saw down there at the bottom where our macros are listed, instead of on these Thanksgiving sides that we offer for the Thanksgiving time, instead of listing the macros, we just said Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
It is true. Thanksgiving should not be stressful. For those of us who did all the cooking, it is stressful.
Yeah.
But for everybody else, man, just enjoy it. Enjoy the laughter. Enjoy the conversation. Enjoy the downtime. Enjoy your moments away from work. And then really take the opportunity to give thanks.
Yeah. And with that being said, guys, myself, basing off of Visionary Meals, I'm truly thankful for you all. And then I know Mark and I are just head over heels for the results that you guys have given us and the feedback that you've given us. So here at Deliberately Linked, we are truly thankful for you guys. So,
fantastic.
But before we actually get going, guys, this is like a 2-for-1 because we got to shout out the one and only Serenity Homes, guys. I'm so thankful to have them. Speaking of it,
I'll tell you what, man. I just met with them again this past week. They are doing amazing things right now. They're in this like revitalization mode.
Yeah.
They're taking roughly 10 homes that time has not been too kind to.
Okay.
And they're bringing them back.
Wow.
And I mean, the house I was at the other day, it looks amazing. It looks thinking brand new. These guys are so good. Whether it's JP, Johnny, or Beagle, or Nathan, I'm telling you, these guys can make a rock look like, a diamond.
For sure.
I mean, they're really, really good. But also, too, they're thankful for the listeners and the viewers on Deliberately Linked.
Yeah.
So what they're doing now for the month of December, Serenity Home Improvements is offering anybody that calls and mentions they heard them on Deliberately Linked 5% off your total material cost for the project.
That's a lot of
money.
money.
So if you call Serenity Homes or hit them up through Facebook or on their website, serenityhomes.com, they're going to give you 5% off the total material cost for your project.
5%, guys, on materials can be a lot of money.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's how thankful they are for not only us, but also for their clients. And they appreciate you.
Seriously, guys, this is your time. Even if you're like, okay, come the first of the year, we want to start our home improvements. Get with them right now, guys. Take advantage of this deal.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
crazy. You're crazy if you don't.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
hit them up, guys. 740-390-8773, guys.
So excited to be working with them. And like I said, you might get the early Christmas present and get Wonder Woman Gale on your job site.
Love it. Love
some Wonder Woman Gale. Yeah.
Oh, man. So diving in, Mark, I mean, we all have no problem really saying no.
Well, that's it. That's the topic
That's
today.
it right there.
How do I say
How do I say no? But, growing up, guys, going throughout our day, we all have no problem saying no to a pushy salesman, everyday chores, or going to the gym when it gets cold or whatever that might be. But why do we find ourselves overcommitted to things we wish we never signed up for?
Yeah. And, once again, we pride ourselves on Deliberately Linked and doing research.
For sure.
And there's a lot of medical journals on this specific topic.
Yeah.
A lot of people struggle with this. And every medical journal that I read a little over 3 medical journals, they all had tidbits, but there was a very similar conclusion. People have that fear of no longer fitting in.
Okay.
Or no longer being accepted.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
And so it's out of fear that we've lost the ability to say no.
Yeah.
Which I totally understand.
Well,
now my situation is not so much fear of no longer being accepted. I would tell you, I struggle saying no because of fear of letting someone else down.
Correct.
They came to me with a need. I have the ability.
Yeah.
Then I should do it.
Right.
That's how I look at it. The problem is people look at me and say, well, Mark's retired. He has all the time in the world.
Right.
I don't.
Right. You're probably more busy than you
I'm busy now. I'm busier now than when I was working. But I think most people just run into that wall where they're like, man, if I say no, they're going to be disappointed in me.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't like me anymore. Or you have that thing where it's like, if I say no, they'll never ask again.
Right. Well, Mark, and I truly don't believe those feelings are wrong.
I don't either.
And I'm gonna be the guy and say it, and we can be completely blunt. I mean, people are just soft nowadays.
Yeah.
So they think, what do you mean you're saying no to me? You're my best friend. What you're fake, bro.
Well, you've heard me say for years, relationships are different. Like friendship, the word friendship and the action of friendship and the relationship of friendship is different.
It is.
The level of depth that friendship used to go to would tolerate someone saying no, and it would offer understanding.
Yep.
Nowadays, you say no, it's almost like you get kicked out of your friend group.
Seriously, though.
It's like, oh, they said no to me. They're not cool anymore.
Right.
And that's shallow.
And that's where this fear
Friendship
is
has become shallow. Absolutely.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
it makes
absolutely.
perfect sense.
Or they're afraid they say no. Next thing you know, that no turns into being blasted all over social media, and it's made into something that it's really not.
You never know with people nowadays. It's too bad because I feel like back then, I don't know, I just feel like in the olden days, people would ask a request of someone, and if they had the time to do it, they'd say yes. If they had, it's just end with a handshake and be like, hey, no, I don't have the time, or, I can't make time for it.
Correct. Well, and that's what people don't understand. People think that their emergency is automatically yours.
Right.
Okay, and that's not the case. That's not the case. And one of the best things I tell people, and this is something I do try to tell myself, although I fail at it, is when someone asks, the first thing I ask myself is does this help me or harm me?
Yeah.
Okay. And if I can answer that, it helps me. Okay. So then do I have the time to be able to do it the right way?
Correct.
And in most things, even if I don't have the time, I'll make the
Yeah.
time. But here's what happens. Almost always, I sacrifice something else.
Okay.
And that's where the problem arises.
And I think so. I think prioritizing is a big part of this.
That's where the problem is, because what you need to get into is what I'm sacrificing. Is it something that is worth sacrificing?
Yeah.
And there's too many times in my life the answer to that is not yes.
Right. Okay.
So then I'm playing catch up on things that are honestly very important to me.
For sure. Yeah. No, I think that's. I think also as we either can't say no, or we feel like we have to justify why we can't say no. Or,
they almost need an explanation.
Correct. And I think that's wrong. And honestly, okay, this is actually an interesting point. Put in on the other person, maybe requesting someone to do something for them. And this is something I drive my wife Ashley crazy about this because I myself at times I think I can be a people pleaser.
Oh, I know.
I think that it goes into a huge part of, not naturally being able to say no, because we want to please whoever we're with.
Yeah.
But completely reverse psychology, guys. I think it's super important. On the flip side of this is if we're requesting something from someone, it's something that I've always done that I've felt that it's worked, at least, is if I'm asking something of someone, I always give them an out within the answer.
Oh, yeah.
Within the question,
Absolutely.
excuse me.
Yeah.
So, I think on the reverse side, we live in a society where we either can get really, really pushy, upon someone just maybe because they're a loved one, a best friend of ours, or whatever it might be, and we in turn expect that of them. But whether you expect that of them or not, or even you think that they are going to say yes, by proposing a simple question of, hey, Mark, I know you're really, really busy this week, and if you can't do it this week, we can do it next week.
Correct.
But can you help me out this weekend?
Correct.
It's something like that. Then that opens up the door and the avenue for them to be like, you know what, you're right. I am busy this weekend, but let's do it next weekend.
And I was kind of, no, you're right. And I like the points you bring up. And I think the discussion so far has been a very personal type no topic.
Right.
And something I went through, it was a little over a year ago. It was about 2 years now. I sat down and had a discussion with a buddy of mine in Tampa about this topic.
Okay.
And it's probably the greatest response I've ever given. Now, to me, this really only applies in personal relationships. This is not something you'd want to do in business, because I think saying no in business is different.
I would agree.
But in personal relationships, what he said is when someone asks you something, whether they ask you in the nicest way and give you an out, or whether they are pushy, he said, and your response is no. Yeah. He said, what you do is you do give an explanation.
Yeah.
He goes, but it's not an explanation of why. What it is I have to say no at this time, but I'm not saying no to you. Right. I'm saying no to what you're asking.
At this time. Yeah.
He's like, because most people feel when you've said no, they now take that personal.
It's projection.
It's projected at them personally.
Correct.
When reality is you're not saying no to them, the person, you're saying no to the task.
For sure.
And I think too many people don't separate those two things.
Well, people are soft, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably very true. Yeah. And we catch ourselves in that mode. But I think, like even me, I still struggle with it. But that is something when certain individuals do ask me things and I can't, and this happens a lot, especially in my responsibilities at church. Right. I tell them, I'm not saying no to you. I know you're under pressure, but I can't right now. Yeah. But I'm saying no to what it is you're asking me to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that way, if you do explain that, they do understand that, okay, he's not rejecting me, but he's rejecting the task.
For sure. Well, we also live day to day that being busy is cool. Being busy is what you're supposed to do. So I think a lot of times also, Mark, in turn of what you're saying is individuals that struggle to say no are because maybe they just don't feel like they're busy enough. And we constantly are just naturally are surrounded by people like, hey man, what do you got going on? Well, I got X, Y, and Z to do. Yeah. We're like, oh, well, I only have X to do. Maybe I should fill it with Y and Z.
Well, and I think sometimes too, the impression others create is that what you would deem as busy, they don't deem as busy.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you could call me and say, hey Mark, what do you got today? And I'll say, I've got this to do, this to do, this to do, and someone else like, that's it. Right. Where in my mind, I'm thinking of all the details that go in with it. I'm like, dude, that's a lot.
For sure.
But then it sticks in your head like, man, really, do I have a lot to do?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, why has it become cool to be so busy?
FOMO, which I
Fear
learned
of
what that.
missing out. Yeah.
See, I had learned what that was the other day. I have FOBL,
Okay, what's that?
fear of being lazy.
I love it. Okay.
So I have so that's me. So like I wake up every day and like if I do have a chill day, which those happen, I almost feel worse. Like I know my body needs it. I know mentally I need it.
mentally, yeah.
But then I almost feel worse.
I feel you.
Because I'm like I didn't really accomplish anything today.
I'm with you. Well, I do the same thing, Mark. When I'm not working or whatever,
Yeah.
I'm constantly sitting there. I'm like, oh my gosh, what can I be doing? What can I be doing?
And I think that is part of our engines.
For sure.
Like me, I know I get it genetically. I know you do too.
No
I
doubt.
mean, your mom and dad are nonstop.
Right.
And it's always in a positive way. My mother is the same way. My mom is nonstop. I mean, to this day, she's 63 years old. She wakes up at 6 and the woman crashes at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night because she never stopped.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I've only seen her. I don't even know if I've seen her sit down and eat meals. I mean, the woman's always doing everything at all times at all things.
Yeah.
So it goes back to the way we were raised, what we see and what we do and what we think is expected.
Right.
But with that being said, that too can become a negative.
Correct.
Because also, I think there are predatorial questioners.
Mm-hmm.
These people who are willing to request things all the time, and they never seem to go to that person who's not seen doing things. They
Right.
always seek the guy that they're like the busiest guy
Serious.
because they're like, look, A, he'll probably not say no, and
Right.
B, I know he'll do it.
Yeah.
So we've done that to ourselves. If you're one of these people out there who's listening or viewing this and you're thinking, gosh, I'm always in that position. Number one, take it as a compliment
Right.
because people see value and skill in you.
For sure.
But number two, realize these people seek you out because you have a history of not saying no.
Right. That's a good point. Well, I think of my dad. You know
Yeah.
my old man. He's a jack of all trades, and I think anybody close to him probably has a to-do list. For him, hey, old man, I
Yeah.
know you're really good at this. Can you get this done for me?
Yeah.
And I think that goes in hand with what you're saying is because, he doesn't know how to say no, because he's ADD and just always has to be working and go
Yeah.
getting it. But he's also got a huge heart. So, finding that balance. And I've always, Ashley's always kind of sat on the sideline and be like, your parents just never take time to enjoy time
Correct.
for themselves.
Correct.
And I've always viewed that as well as they're always either they're working or helping others or doing. And I think there's a line that we all need to learn to draw somewhere because Christ obviously calls us to serve others, and it's who's the judge on where that line should be drawn. I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you, speaking relationship wise, if your relationship's starting to take a toll in your home, and you are stepping back and looking at the big picture because you're not giving whoever the time that maybe they deserve,
Or even yourself.
Or
if the negative
yourself.
effects are starting to affect
Correct.
you.
Yeah. And I'm not going to, I know I was talking about my parents there, and I don't think they have obviously a household problem because they are both wired this way, but I almost sit back on the sideline and be like, I wish you guys could take more time for yourselves.
We want that for them. I say the same thing to my mother all the time. I want my mom to enjoy just some R&R.
For sure.
Now, she'll tell you, I enjoy everything that I do. But I'm like, that's because you've never done anything else. You don't know what else is out there.
Correct. Well, why have we trained ourselves to only find it important to rest when we hit retirement?
Well, and even then, I don't even think retirement does it. You see so many retirees, the first thing they'll tell you is, get busy living or get busy dying.
It's true.
You know what I mean? But I think we've been so trained as a society
to work,
that success ultimately is dependent on how hard you work.
Correct.
So we just associate the two things. And really, busyness does not equate into success.
Yeah.
It's got to be quality effort. And we do. Most of us, I'm sure, have moments of quality effort, but I guarantee you there's a lot of sprinkling of just flat busyness involved. But you brought up too, Christ did call us all to serve. Yeah. Christ called us all to serve. Catch that key word right there, all of us.
All.
So if you're that individual, I'm telling you right now, I'm calling myself out, who never says no. What you're also doing is you're also blocking someone else from the ability of saying yes.
Okay.
So there's many times too where I have found myself in a situation where like I came to you first because X, Y, and Z, and I've said no. And I know people say, well, didn't you feel guilty? I felt guilty, but the only comfort I gained from that is I now open the door for somebody else who may not be as vocal, who may not have the history of doing X, Y, and Z, but now they have the opportunity.
Right. Well,
So
Mark,
we got to remember that.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like what you said there, and I kind of like the direction you're taking this show.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of proposes the next question on how do we say no, but at times no necessarily isn't an option.
Yeah.
So when no isn't an option, how do we go about that? What do we do? If our career success, accomplishments depend on saying yes, even though if our hearts aren't in it, and how do we go about that? Because to me, it's all about shifting. I think your perspective. You know what I mean? So shifting your perspective. I thought of the Bible verse we base Visionary Meals off of, 1 Corinthians 10:31. So whatever you do, whether you eat or drink, do it all for the glory of God. So everything you do, whether you're saying, if you have to say yes to it, how does it glorify? How does it put your purpose into Christ's image?
Well, we preach on here all the time, your vision.
Yes.
If it's not supporting your vision, you shouldn't be doing it. Now, I will say this. I preach this. I preach that your vision is your priority, and your vision is usually, in most cases, based upon naturally given skills and gifts, right? Yeah. It's the things you're passionate about. But I also believe in sacrifice. Mm-hmm. So if you're making the majority of your decisions based upon your passion, your gifts, and in support of your vision,
right,
then you're on the right path. But that means, too, there are moments and times where you can't say no. Right. You have to say yes. It doesn't support those things. But that's where the first question is this going to hurt me? If it's not going to hurt you, that is your sacrificial service.
For sure.
That is then going to benefit somebody else who is in need. It may not be benefiting you. The key is you want to make sure that balance is like 80-20.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that the visionary balance is up at 80 and the sacrificial is down like at 20. Okay? Because the minute you get those out of balance, then you're suffering, then you're hurting yourself. Because there are moments where you cannot say no.
Right.
You just can't. You just got to make sure that those moments when you can't say no, they're not hurting you. They're not harmful. They're not a negative impact. And they're not inviting negative impacts too. Mm-hmm. But I think sometimes we just do not look through things in depth anymore. We make these snap decisions, and because the requests want a snap reaction. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's times like, hey, let me get back to you in the morning. And they're like, I can't. Well, right. I'm here to tell you, their failure to plan does not have to become your plan to fail.
Correct. That's
good. If they need that answer right now, then I tell people, if you need that answer right now, it's no. Mm-hmm. If you give me a day or so to think about it and figure this out, it might possibly could be yes. Yeah. But if you want it right now, the answer is no.
Well, I think life and business go hand in hand so well. I mean, in business, you get a deal proposed to you or an opportunity proposed to you. More than likely, you're just not going to say yes right on the spot.
Absolutely not. You're going to research it.
I think of all the pickup locations I've gone to as a company, and 9 times out of 10, they just don't tell me yes as I pitch my pitch of, hey, can we come into your location?
Well, and that's no different than you just going to any random location.
Right.
You do your homework.
Correct.
You do your research on it. Is this going to benefit the business?
Right.
And then they do the same thing. Is this product going to benefit me? Is it going to represent me well?
For sure.
Well, guess what, guys? Life is the same way. How is this decision going to reflect upon me? Yeah. Does it support my vision? Does it support my passions?
Right.
If it doesn't, then I really need to think about that.
Yeah.
Is it a sacrificial moment? I don't know. I can't tell you that right now.
Yeah, like Mark was saying, guys, not everything's going to line up with your vision.
It won't. It will not.
Especially if you're going to live like Christ and serve, to the best of your abilities.
Correct.
More times than not, probably it won't line up with your vision.
And there's many times yours will not line up with theirs, but that doesn't mean that we all don't have these. Every movie has thousands of extras. Mm-hmm. There's lots of times in life where you're just somebody else's extra for a minute.
Yeah.
You don't get any casting credits at the end. You don't get anything, but it was a very needed support role for a short period of time, and then it's over.
Yeah.
But as long as it doesn't harm you, I'll keep going back to that over and over. I tell people I struggle to say no, but I promise you, I never, ever tell someone no when I know that it's a negative impact on myself.
Okay.
The worst thing I do to myself is I wear my body out.
Right.
But I never say yes to something where I'm going to go into it knowing the entire time, like this really is going to end badly. Mm-hmm. I just don't do it.
Right.
It seems like everybody comes to me with things that aren't going to be that way.
Yeah. Well, lack of communication too, I think is huge as far as, someone coming to you for a task or whatever it might be, communicating to them what your availability is maybe, or your expectations, and spelling out the expectations, big or small, guys, whatever it might be. But I think of Mark, all the time, and he's joyfully probably done some work for individuals that in his mind maybe he didn't know it was going to take as long as it did.
Oh, I guarantee it. Yeah.
But, you know, so I guess learning those expectations and spelling those out. Now, if you have all the time in the world, then you go serve left and right, baby. Let's get it. But spelling out those expectations, I think, is super important, because in the end, you could end up more bitter than you were going into it.
Well, you don't want to accept something where, you know, they're happy and then you're miserable.
Yeah.
You know, it is. Communication's huge. And when I think of business, you know, this goes on different levels. Obviously, if there's somebody you don't know, you don't have a personal relationship with, saying no is obviously a lot easier.
For sure.
You know what I mean? You don't have that. But in business, a lot of times you end up dealing with people you've built relationships with over time,
Right.
and then it does muddy the water. And you don't want to hurt anything. I think that's where the communication is so important, and they can understand. You don't have to go into details. They don't need this long explanation of whatever the financial burden it would be on your company or whatever the case may be, but you can explain to them, right now, as far as the company outlook, it's not a good time.
Yeah.
Now, in the future, this is totally something I may be psyched about. Now, if it's not, here's where I challenge you. If you're not psyched about it, if you don't see the connection in your company, be upfront and honest in the beginning.
Right.
Tell them, like, look, man, I don't see this matching what it is we're trying to accomplish here. You know, it'd be like you trying to sell junk food.
Right.
Someone's like, oh, it'd be great to add to your menu because, you know, not everybody that eats your food wants to be a fitness freak. I understand that. But your vision is not just fitness, it's people being healthy.
Yeah.
And we all know junk food's not healthy. So instead of saying, yeah, maybe down the road that's a good idea, no, just tell them straight up, look, that doesn't match our business model. You know, because honesty at the end of the day, people, you may hurt feelings initially, but if you're not honest in the beginning and you don't tell them the truth up front, later on it's going to be worse.
Yeah. Well, I think before we would propose the question of then how do you say no, I think another point of this that I don't know if we've even thought about, I hadn't thought about it until just a second ago, is if we're the one receiving a no,
how do we respond?
How do we respond
Yeah,
to that?
absolutely.
I think that's huge, and I think of the field of
Josh is horrible. He starts crying, starts hitting things.
Yeah,
throwing
what do
things.
you mean you're telling me no? Yeah,
No, and then he goes, "You fake." That's that conversation.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying, guys. We can't be soft. If you have someone that has the strength and the courage to be like, "Hey, no, I can't do this," it's as simple as you can just say accept it and move on.
Well, just to say, "Hey, I appreciate you for even thinking about it."
Yeah, but like so many people, we're like we've said, we're afraid to say no because we're afraid of the reaction.
Well, it's funny, in one of the medical journals, one of the reasons they wrote down why people are afraid to say no is they say because it's not PC.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? That's like your best medical opinion is that it's not PC?
Right.
But that brings this up. So it's no longer politically correct to tell somebody no. So then you wonder why you get a non-politically correct reaction.
Yeah.
Because politically correct, I don't care. What I want is humanly correct. I want someone to say, hey, can you X, Y, and Z? If I cannot, I want to say, hey, I appreciate it. And then you can say, thanks for asking.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how it goes.
Guys,
And you move on.
I'm laughing because I know this is like very, very elementary to a degree.
But this is real.
But think of yourself and how many tasks or chores that you get put into that you're bitter, you're just despising every act of it, and instead of serving with a joyful heart, you're serving with a bitter heart.
And for our business individuals who are listening to this, who struggle saying no, and they find themselves stressed out, they find themselves struggling with anxiety, all these things, then think about what you're loading yourself up with.
Right.
If you're loading yourself up with that fear of missing out, whether it's a payday or fear of missing out on future business, what you need to consider is the quality over quantity. Is this what we're doing and why we're doing it, or am I taking every single job that comes my way so I look like I'm successful because I'm busy?
Right.
Because that's not success. All you're doing is wearing yourself out.
Correct.
And at the end of the day, you're hurting your product.
Yeah.
Because if you're overloading yourself in business, you're not producing the quality of product that you want to.
For sure.
It's just not going to happen.
Well, Mark, we know Visionary has a goal board of multiple business endeavors that are going to take place at a time, but those don't take place until the time is now.
Well, the time will show you when.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so it's almost myself or any other business or entrepreneur that has goals, dreams, aspirations of doing X, Y, and Z, learning to tell yourself no too at a certain aspect is super, super important in business because, as a young company or even a company that's a few years old that's growing rapidly, you start seeing the big picture and you're like, oh, we can do this. Now let's go, jump headfirst into whatever task at hand. And learning to say, hey, no, it's not time yet, and truly understanding what analytics and timing is in business, because timing is everything in business.
You'll never get things to perfect, but until things are efficient, I never say move on.
Right.
Until it's a well-oiled running
Yeah.
machine, I say never move on.
Yeah.
If you're still working kinks out over here, there's no reason to go open the jar of nothing but issues.
Right.
But also, I mean, you said elementary earlier. Guys, there are things our forefathers said and did that to this day, if we were still applying, life would be so much easier.
Right.
And the simplest thing I can tell you right now is supply equals demand.
It's a fact. Amen.
You cannot create supply for no demand.
That's so true.
And you cannot demand your own supply.
Correct.
So and when the people start calling for it and the voice is louder and the need is louder, that's when you start creating. But until then, all you're doing is putting yourself in a hole. And people say, yeah, but now you're saying that we shouldn't use our imagination and we should slim down our visioning. No. That's not what I'm saying. You prepare for it.
Right.
You can dream it up, draw it up, have things ready to rock and roll. So the day it happens, you're ready to roll with it.
Put it in place.
But you do not start doing it. Don't put the cart before the horse, folks. There's another old saying right
No
there.
doubt. No
But
doubt.
that all comes with saying no.
Right.
Saying no to yourself, saying no to your relationships, saying no with business. It's something we need to get better. I know I am horrible at it.
Yeah. Well, Mark, I literally just hung up the phone to a potential opportunity, and that's another thing as business owners or entrepreneurs or even just people in the business field. Opportunities as you advance in your career are going to get thrown your way. So I think
Yeah.
that just goes into big picture of if truly, again, going back to your purpose, all right? Prioritizing in your purpose and knowing, okay, this might sound enticing for you know this reason and that reason.
Well, I think we
But
just
does
had one of those.
Yeah.
Before we went to record,
Yeah.
there was a great conversation where I know my heart started chasing. I know your heart started
for
going
sure.
up because it's something we're passionate about.
Correct.
But the first thing you got to ask yourself is now the right time?
Right.
Now for them it may be, but is it for me?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's super, obviously super important. So Mark, how do we say no then? You know, when someone's
Well-
coming to us, obviously I don't know. Maybe viewers, maybe I shouldn't be asking Mark. 'Cause
No,
Mark
I'm
can't-
horrible at this.
Mark can't say no.
Here's the thing. The people that I don't struggle saying no to are the people that I know I have real relationships with.
I like that. Okay.
Okay, people that I may have a relationship with, whether it's just like acquaintance
So
or
that's-
it's someone I deal with on occasion, I struggle more with them.
So that's opposite maybe of what I thought it would be though.
No, because I know that I can tell you no. I
Right.
know that I can tell other people no. And I know I understand that the response I'm going to get back, they may still be disappointed, but it's not going to change the love we have for each other.
Yeah.
Other people may be disappointed and they're like, well, I'm never going to ask him again. Which
Interesting.
stinks because it's a timing thing. Right
Okay.
now, it may not be a timing for me. Now, there are times I say yes to things that I don't want to do, but that's me giving my love back to them,
For sure.
especially those I'm close with.
Yeah, because Mark, I was going to say I see the other side of it. I think I tend to lean a little bit more on. I think it's harder to say no to the loved ones because you don't want to disappoint them.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I guess I'm too cold-hearted. Like someone that I don't really know, just saying no to them, I'm not going to lose sleep about it. But you know, saying no to someone like yourself or you know a family member,
You say no to me all the time.
like what?
He never has time, folks. That's why I don't even ask anymore.
What do you need?
There's
sweetheart?
24 hours in a day, and Josh needs 28.
Buttercup, what do you need? I'll do it for
See,
you.
see. No, you're right. You're right. I think there's definitely variances there. But once again, where I say I struggle with saying no, you probably pointed out something perfect. I struggle saying no to those closest to me because of I don't want to disappoint them.
Yeah.
And it is easier for me to say yes because
For
I'm
sure.
like, I know that I can, I know that I'll do a good job, and I'll sacrifice X, Y, and Z. But that's where when I tell you I'm not good at saying no, I know I'm not good at saying no because I know the sacrifices that I make in a lot of cases are not good sacrifices. And I think that's the message I want to give to all the listeners and viewers. It is important to be able to say yes in the right times, to say no in the right times. It's very important. I think what's more important is are you being true to things that are valuable in your life?
Right.
And like specifically what I'm talking about is your quiet time, your prayer time, your daily habits.
Yeah.
If those things are getting knocked out of whack because you cannot say no, then you really need to consider what you're saying no to.
Yeah.
And if those are the things that keep getting pushed back or changed, that's wrong because now you're messing with your priority list.
For sure.
Don't do that.
For sure. No, Mark, I think that's interesting because I think there are things in our lives that we are supposed to say no to maybe at that time.
Yeah.
Even though if it truly does align with your purpose, passion, heart, your gut, whatever you want to call it, there are multiple things that, align very, very well with each and every one of us that at that time is important to say no. And I think of I think of my training that I did with our pastor at our local church here, and there was a time where we were training very, very heavily, and this was the time where Visionary Meals and my other endeavors were really, really starting to pick up.
Yeah.
And I felt my heart in line with Visionary Meals and Visionary Athletics, and then obviously launching Deliberately Linked, creating this platform for you guys. But there was a period of time where I was starting to get nudged into some minor pastoral work.
Yeah.
Mostly to the teenage age, and we had scheduled actually on the calendar. We had scheduled for me to go give a sermon to these kids, and I look back at that and I didn't make the time for it. Because I didn't have the time, but I don't sit here with guilt, because although that does align very much so with my heart, that did not align right now with my priorities.
No, I completely agree.
And I felt God pushing me, hey, I know you're going to go do this act, to glorify me, which is great, which I'm sure that's what he wants, and he probably wouldn't have been mad if I did it. But at that point in time, he knew what I had on my plate, and I felt at peace saying, hey, God, I just don't feel able and ready
and
to
I
do
think it's
this.
important to understand, people will look at you and see that you have a gift. They'll see that you have skills. And so then they will then in turn look at that and say, okay, here is a calling I know that you have.
Yes.
And it could be on many different levels. But what people cannot do, they cannot predict, and they cannot see is whether or not it's God's timing for that.
Right.
I very similar stories, very similar things where people see in me, but they can't depict God's timing for it. He'll unleash that when he's ready.
Yeah.
And to all our viewers and listeners, there's lots of things that you may see in yourself, lots of skills, and there's lots of skills, gifts, and qualities other people see in you. What you cannot do is rush the timing of it. Mm-hmm. And if you're staying loyal to your priority list and doing the things you should be doing, something I say every day, your will and your way, then you have to be patiently waiting for that, because when it is time, he'll tell you it's time. And that's everything in business. And Josh made a great point. Whether it does align with your passion, whether it does align with the things that are true in your heart, that doesn't always mean aligns with the time.
Correct. Yeah.
And so that's when we talk about the ability to say no, the effect that no has. We talk about the medical journals and all the things that come from it. They're really, the grand scheme of things, whether it's personal, private, business, whatever it is, it's all about timing. Mm-hmm. Is it a negative impact on me or a positive thing? And what am I sacrificing? Yeah. I don't care what arena you're in. Those are the things that you need to apply to it, and then that should determine your decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. And I think one of the last points that's kind of been floating around in my head on this topic, as far as how to say no. If you do feel that guilt of just being flat out, hey, Mark, nope, I can't do it. We're all out here trying to create a network and people surrounding ourselves with it. So I think at times it's appropriate to direct someone that could maybe handle the task that themselves. And
Absolutely.
I think that's an easy way to say no. Hey, I cannot do this right now, but I do know someone that would be interested.
And I do that all the time.
For sure.
Yeah,
you've done it to me probably every time. Hey, my little brother would love to.
No, but I mean seriously, especially that is a way of giving still.
Yeah, it is. For sure.
Because not only are you giving yourself the ability to say no, which you obviously feel that you need, but you're also giving that other person the opportunity to go into action and then show what they can do. And then you're blessing them with the ability to bless someone else. We do it all the time, and we probably need to do it more.
Yeah. Well, there was a quote from Steve Jobs that I really like, guys. And he says, I'm just as proud of the things I haven't done as the things I have done.
Yeah.
And Steve Jobs, I think, is obviously we all know the name,
a bold visionary.
Bold visionary.
And we talk about it on the show all the time. Most people will not understand your vision. That guy is the epitome of that.
Yeah.
People laughed at him, told him it's never going to work. I mean, he was so far ahead of his time.
Yeah.
But that he had confidence.
Correct. Well, and he's a prime example of, and we kind of touched on this already, but is the more skills that you establish, the more wealth that you gain, the larger network that you get, the more sought after you are going to be.
Absolutely.
And truly, and like we've said 100 times already on the show, guys, prioritizing and an individual like that has so much success that probably told people no maybe more than he said yes can truly pave the path and write the picture of your success as an individual, as a Christ follower, as a family member, and whatever else could fall into that category.
No, absolutely. I just think we get stuck in this. It's expected of me to say yes, and I don't want anybody to ever feel that way. Especially if you're dealing with me, I hope you never feel that way. That you're expected to say yes, and I just want everybody to be healthy. And I don't want people to work too hard.
Right.
You know, I want everybody to work hard, but I don't want you to work too hard because I don't want you to create unhealthy habits.
Yeah.
I don't want your relationships to suffer, whatever. And I think as a whole, everybody, we all can be far more accepting of a no. You know, because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Correct.
You know what I mean? We don't know what busy is to them. We don't know where they are. So we should be a little more accepting of that. And then we should be a little more accepting of giving other people opportunities. Yeah.
No, that's really good. That's really good, brother. You have anything for that
No.
on this topic? I think
No.
I think those are short and sweet for you guys, but it's a really important message that I think that we all, myself included, Mark included, that we can be better at. But learning how to say no, delivery guys. I think a big takeaway is if you were the one asking, for someone's need or help or whatever it might be, give them an out in the question. Make their life easy for them. Okay,
Give them some grace.
Some people just
Show
can't
some
do
grace.
it. You don't be that guy that can't handle, or a woman that can't handle a no. And then the one receiving the need. If you can't do it, be confident. But if you can do it, let's go out there and serve others and love others like we're all called to do. I think that's really,
And ultimately
really important.
today, I want everybody to be thankful.
Yes.
Be thankful for your health. Be thankful for your family. Be thankful for your job. Be thankful for the things that you don't have, because you're going to be even more thankful for them when God decides now it's time to have it.
That's
So
right.
be thankful for the little things, not just the big things. But yeah, happy
love it.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, guys. Again, we're on all those audio platforms out there. Check us out. We appreciate it. Again, thank you for all of our listeners. Hit that subscribe button, hit that follow, hit that like, whatever it might be, guys. Again, we're always taking reviews, questions, comments, concerns, whatever it might be, guys. We're
Absolutely.
open ears. So
Awesome.
all right. Thanks, guys. We appreciate you guys. Have a blessed day. Go get it. Go win the day. Deliberately Link signing out.